Good evening, everyone. What an honor it is to be here with you today and to share this platform and a stage with so many wonderful women whom I got to know a little bit more just in a few minutes. I'm also very delighted to be asked to deliver Vinod Mehta lecture. I got to learn about him as well, and it truly is an inspiring story there. Before I begin, I really would like to express my gratitude to all of those elements that have enabled a small town girl from the Hindi belt to stand here before you as a Chancellor of the University of Houston. Yes, I am a proud product of the Indian education system with all of its faults and all of its challenges and problems. And yes, I'm even a prouder product of Narayan Arya Kanya Pathshala, a Hindi medium institution. I am forever grateful to Indian values and culture that I took with them as dowry that have laid the foundation for any success I have had in America. Of course, as they say, sa vidya ya vimuktai. Education, knowledge is that which liberates you. I stand here before you as an example of education that has liberated me, not just emotionally, but in every aspect of life. But today's topic is quite challenging, women's empowerment through education. And I had to think long and hard, what is it that I could share with you that you may not already know or that you may find useful, because after all, you're here and I want to make sure that your time is valuable. So I thought about it, and then I reflected on my own life's journey. And I thought it would be quite interesting for me to share the lessons about women's empowerment that I have learned from my own life's journey and experiences. Born and brought up in a small town, as I said, I was born in Farrukhabad. In case you don't know, it's near Kanpur. My father and grandfather were very much for education, but I can tell you today, even in their wildest dreams, they never thought that they were preparing me for a career or for a professional life. For them, education was more for self-empowerment than for anything else. It was my mother who laid the first brick in the foundation of my character building and my life's structure. She was not a feminist by any far-fetched imagination. She was not even aware of women's movement. However, when it came to raising her children, she was gender blind. She never said that you're my daughter, but I'm raising you as son, because I think inherent in that kind of a statement is automatically assumption that somehow daughters are less than sons. For her, the joy of raising me and joy of my success, everything I did, just thinking how special it was, she treated me exactly the same as she treated my brother. And I think that had a lot to do in how I turned out. And when people ask me, especially there in Texas, which you know, Texas is Texas. It's a very special state. And there, when people ask me, what is it that helped you survive 10 years? And by the way, in case you're interested, the average tenure of a public university president, research university president, is 4.7 years. And I'm in my 11th year, very first woman chancellor ever appointed in Texas. And I think she made me the naively fearless person that I am. I don't even see the impossibilities. I don't know how to say no. I just think everything is possible. I think she gave me the gift of possibilities, the gift of dreaming, and the gift of daring. She never put any boundaries around me, and consequently, I think I became who I am. So this brings me to lesson number 1, and that is, don't put boundaries around girls. For that matter, don't put boundaries around children, girls or boys. Let them be bold, let them dream, because I do believe dreams have power. Dreams have power to take you from point A to point B, even if you did not think it was possible. Putting boundaries around people only limits their future potential, and therefore, today I think the lesson one that I have learned, which I would like to share, and that is just make sure through very indirect ways we are not limiting a child's potential. I was 18 years old, getting into 19, when I acquired my bachelor's degree, BA, from Narayan Arya Kanya Pathshala Degree College, and then I headed to Allahabad University to pursue my MA. It was not an easy decision for my family. I come from a Marwari family. And sending the girl away, and that was so many years back, it was in 1974, it was not an easy decision. But I'm a strong-headed girl. I pursued, I argued, I debated. Finally, my father sent me to Allahabad University, and I thought I have won the battle. I have won the war. Little did I know that was not the case, because 9 months later, I was called to come back home. I did not have any idea what I was to find. I was told my mother is not feeling well, so I came home. Once I got home, at home was this young man, his mother, and 2 sisters, and he looked at his watch. I never did. He says we had 29 minutes together with 12 members of both families. And at the end of it, I thought I can go back to Allahabad University, but no, he said, I want to get married. 3 hours later, we were engaged, and I protested. I said no, and I said I will go on hunger strike. I will not eat food, because I thought if Mahatma Gandhi can liberate India with fasting, maybe I can liberate myself. However, that was not to be the case. 10 days later, I was married, and back then it took much less time to get passport and visa. In few more days, my passport and visa arrived, and here I was on plane to the United States of America. During the entire wedding, I cried. I was very sad. You can see any photos that are there from that time. So my husband asked me, he said, I am so happy. I don't understand. Why are you so sad? I said, because you killed my dream. My dream was to get education. That's all I wanted, education. And I always really enjoyed education. And he said, but I am in that field. I'm doing my PhD. I'm studying. That's what you can do too. I didn't believe him. It was hard to believe that a man from a Marwari family at that time, today is different, would actually live up to that promise. I told him, I said, I don't want saris, I don't want jewelry. There's only one thing I want, and I would never ever ask for or even expect for a gift from you for birthdays, for anniversary, for anything. All I want is education. He promised me the education. 1 month into the United States of America, and I did not know any English. I didn't even know what McDonald's was. It was not the time of television. It was not the time of Facebook or FaceTime or any of that. I had no exposure to English in my small hometown. At that point in time, I've said to him after a month, I said, okay, you promised me education. I'm ready for education now. I need to go and get admission. He was studying at Purdue University. Now, I want you to imagine for a second, I was 19 now. I had just turned 19. And here I am with him wearing my sari, wearing my bichua, sindoor, mang, bhari, chuda, everything. And here I walk with him, and I go to that office for admissions director, and he's translating because I have no knowledge. I couldn't speak English at all. I could read it with great difficulty. I could write it with even greater difficulty. But when it came to speaking, zero. So he's translating and telling him she wants admission for master's program. And he says, you are a teenager. At this age, our children go to bachelor's, they start their bachelor's program. I think you should go and do 2 years of bachelor's. And I'm yelling at my husband, and I'm saying, tell him he needs to prove that Indian bachelor's is inferior to American bachelor's, otherwise I want admission for master's. And he's trying to come from both sides. That professor, he said he thought I was the most stubborn person he has ever met, but he thought he would never see me again. So he said, I will make no promise about your admission absolutely no promise where you'll go from here, but I'll let you do one thing. I will give you permission to audit 2 classes. You sit in 2 classes, and we'll talk about it at the end of the semester. So I got in. But first class I attended, I didn't understand 95% of what went on in that class. I came out crying. I said, I don't know what's going on. And my husband said, well, we'll just have to work harder. What was my dream became a couple's dream. It became his obsession and his dream too. I watched 8 hours of television a day, keeping a log just so that I can understand. I wrote 8 drafts of any assignment that was given. I would write a draft. I would show it to him. He'll say, oh my gosh, your English is so bad. I have no parents. Phone was hard. It was a trunk call you had to book, and it took a month to get even a trunk call to my hometown. Then I would cry because I have nobody I know here, and he was being hard on me. Then he would buy me an ice cream, and I would get back to writing second draft. Same story. He would buy me another ice cream, and I would go back and write third draft. Literally 8 ice creams, and 8 drafts later, I would have what I can submit. However I worked, I've never worked this hard the whole semester. By the end of the semester, when the results came out, I had both A's and the highest marks in both the classes. This is your education from this country. And at that point in time, the committee sat and said, what do we do with her? We can't ask her to take GRE. We can't ask her to take TOEFL. She's already proven, so I got admission. 1 year later, at the age of 20, I got my master's degree from America's one of the top institutions, of course in engineering, the top, one of the top still, Purdue University. From there, I went on to do PhD and many other things that's different. But that taught me lesson number 2. And that is, life is not fair. It is full of adversities, and it is full of challenges. You have little control over what life does to you. You have little control over what people do to you. However, as Maya Angelou said, you have control on how you internalize whatever happens to you. If adversity strikes you, you have 2 choices. Either you can feel victim and say life is not fair, I'm not being treated fair, and do nothing, or get the negative feeling inside of you. But that will only burn you and make you victim all over again the second time. Or you can fight back the system, but at the same time, fight with yourself. Don't let your inner self quit or give up. Have the passion, have the obsession that your dream is important, no matter what the dream is, that you are not going to quit, no matter what it is. If you ask me, have I had failures throughout my time, which is 10 years after finishing PhD, and I started my PhD with 2 little girls, 3-year-old and one-year-old. If I had failures in my life, yes, of course. If you ask me if I faced rejections, yes, of course I did. If you ask me if I was discriminated against, did I feel that because being a woman, I'm particularly getting it harder? Absolutely. Indeed, it happened. And if you ask me, did I think the life was always fair for me? No, I did not. It was absolutely true. However, I stood up every single time I fell down, and I just took it even more resolve. When I got up, it's not about falling, everybody falls. It's about who gets up and how they get up and what they do afterwards. However, I was never alone in all of this fight. I was never alone in this fight. As a matter of fact, I remember very vividly the time when I was hired in the state of Texas by the board where many people were 7th-generation Texans. When I interviewed with the board, they already knew who they were going to hire. I had no idea, but they already had their mind set up. But when I walked in, I was asked a question, and the question was, why should we hire you while we have, and you're just the vice president right now, we have some presidents who are full of experience. Why don't we just hire them? What do you bring to the table? And I thought at that point in time, it was done. And therefore, let me just give them peace of my mind. So I said, well, it's your choice. You choose whoever you feel the most comfortable with. You can bring somebody who has done it all and will come and tell you how bad things are here, or you can hire me, a person who has fire in her belly, who will do it to prove, not to you, but to herself, that anything is possible, that we can take this university from one place to another. Now, as I said, all of that left me to my lesson number 3, and that lesson is about humility. I was never alone. Many people helped me, my mother, as I pointed out, but also, as you can tell, from my husband. Because our very first fight in our life was over a small little thing. I wasn't able to speak English, and therefore, he said, why don't you just do some volunteer work or take a job, a few 3-hour job at the library? And I told him, I said, how can you even think that I would ever have a job? What would it do to my father's reputation? And he was very calm. He says, you are your father's daughter, but you are also you. You are Renu, and you need to find yourself. I just want you to know, sometimes people turn up, not just as your husband, but also your mentor, as your teacher, as your friend, and as your guide all through. And my husband has been one of those. He's in the audience today. Would you please help me recognize him today? But many people helped me in my life, as I said, my mother, my husband, many authors, like Mahadevi Verma. By the way, she was also born in Farrukhabad, in case you don't remember. And I adore her for that reason. Also inspired by Emily Dickinson or Maya Angelou, or I can give you a ton of different names. I'm always reading a Hindi novel or Hindi book just because I want to keep with my language. I also dabble and write some in Hindi here and there. However, the important thing is to know nobody does life's journey alone. There are people who travel with us. There are people who help us, some who help directly, some who help indirectly, some who help by inspiring us, and some who help by criticizing us. But there are always people who have made us who we are today. And that makes it an obligation on our part that we also help those who need help today. Of course, help is needed because, as we all know, the world is not exactly where we want it to be. Only a handful of women are heads of the state today. I'm not dabbling into Indian politics. I won't go into American politics, although there's plenty to talk in both of those countries. But just know that there are only a handful of women who are heads of the state. There are over 150 countries right now who have at least one blatantly sexist law that needs to be removed. Each minute, 28 girls are married before they are ready to be married, and 1 in every 3 women has experienced physical or sexual assault in her lifetime. In most countries, women are still earning 60 to 70 cents or on a dollar, or 60 to 70 cents on paisa, and 2/3 of the illiterates in this world are women. It is not the time to rest on our laurels. It is neither the time for us to say, we as this country, whether it's India or it's America, that we are better than the rest. The time is for us to take the challenge, to take the system where it is today, because after all, it is our system with all the faults and all the good things. Take that system, take whatever it is that needs to be fixed, take the pieces that are fallen apart, that are broken, pick up those pieces and build something better. Because we have to build something better for those who are coming after us, for girls, but also for boys. We have to make the life a little bit easier for them. We have to help them realize their dreams, probably with little more force than they think is possible today. We have to give those young girls and boys a little more hope than they had yesterday. We need to give them more hope today. It is not just our responsibility, I would submit to you, it's our moral obligation in our lifetimes. If we can just take a pledge, we'll reach out to 10 people in our lifetime, 10 young girls, and just help them realize their dreams. I think every single step we take towards success becomes a lot more meaningful. Our lives become a lot more meaningful. I'm happy to be here today, honored to be here today. I want to be inspired myself, and I look forward to having more engagement with you. Thank you all very much.